Good morning, guys. Oh man, I'm so excited to do today's video. I went down to Denali National Park yesterday with the intentions on filming a video and doing the whole thing we always do down there and kind of bringing you guys with me. Well, I did go down there, but that's not what's in store today. Yesterday, something incredible happened, something that I've been waiting for since I got into wildlife photography. And it finally happened, and we're going to jump into that in a little bit later. There's some things I want to talk to you about, some things I learned yesterday, and let's get to it. All right, guys. So yesterday, the intent of yesterday was to go down to Denali National Park and help build my portfolio. So when it comes to wildlife photography, what a lot of people do is they get the hero shot, right? They get the one picture of the perfect light with the perfect behavior and the perfect animal doing exactly what you want, and then they capture that instant. And that makes up a lot of wildlife photography. So you see these images and you're like, wow, that's a beautiful picture. Like, do you have any more? And they're like, no, unfortunately, like I only have these couple images of that one encounter. That's really not what wildlife photography is in my eyes. Like, you got to build a portfolio around an animal or around a location or whatever it is. You need more substance. You got to bring more to the table than just one or two glory images. So I was going down yesterday with the intent on photographing ptarmigan, believe it or not. So what's really cool about ptarmigan right now is their plumage is changing. So it's going from all white like it is in the winter to half brown, half white, and then now they're getting pretty spotty with the whites and the browns, and it's just really cool. And my purpose is to try to capture that. So later in the year, when I put together a story about it, I have the whole plumage change, and I can kind of describe what's going on in the ptarmigan's life as we get closer to spring progresses. So I went down there and I captured some pretty cool shots of ptarmigan, in my opinion. They were up in the tree. They were down on the road. There was a beautiful female hen, and they were kind of just interacting. He was calling. So I tried to get some video of the call, because if you haven't heard a ptarmigan call, it is hilarious. So check that out right now. So yeah, that was the whole intent. So I was completely comfortable. I went down there, I got the shots that I was looking for, and then I was ready to head back to mile 30. So what's going on in Denali right now is normally they open it up. It's called shoulder season. So they open it up until May 15th until about mile 15, which is the Savage River. And then anything beyond the Savage River, you have to be on a bus to go back. So it's like a 91 or 92 mile long road to Wonder Lake, and you got to go on a tour and take the bus, and it's nice. It's beautiful. You get to see the whole road, but you're on somebody else's schedule. So what they've done during this crazy time is they've opened it up to mile 30 so far, the Teclanica River, and they're allowing residents to drive freely, just all the way back to mile 30. So I've been trying to take advantage of that and travel there. So I got the ptarmigan pictures, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna travel further back. So I'm driving, and there's caribou, there's moose, there was a couple grizzly bears way off in the distance. I didn't get any shots of the grizzly bear, but here are a few of the caribou that I saw. And what's really cool about the caribou is, in the last week, they've grown, no exaggeration, probably 2 or 3 inches of antler in that span. It's the same herd that we always watch, and I got some pictures last week, and I got some pictures this week, and you can kind of see just how massive the growth is in a 1-week period. So driving back, I get all the way. It's kind of a slow night. Like, there's a couple buffleheads, and there's a couple other drake ducks that are in the little ponds on the way out there. And I'm like, okay, at least I got the ptarmigan shots. So I do some landscape stuff out at the end, and I turn around, and I'm ready to head on home. Right now it's probably 9 or 10 o'clock at night because of how long the sun is up. I try to get there late in the evening when all the people are gone, and I can really focus on doing the wildlife stuff. So I'm leaving the park. I'm almost all the way out, and I stop. I do a couple more shots of caribou, and I'm like, okay, you know what? You had a good trip. You got some good shots of ptarmigan. Time to go home. Now, when I am always down in Denali, or when I'm anywhere and I'm doing wildlife photography, you gotta be prepared. And what I'm saying is, like, I got my camera, I got my lens, I got everything in the passenger seat, my windows are rolled down, I'm listening, because you'll hear a moose trudging through the tundra, or you'll hear, last week I actually heard grizzly bears breaking a moose carcass apart. You can hear this stuff. You don't always have to see these animals to get the heads up that something's there. So I had the windows rolled down, and I had kind of signed off for the day. I was thinking, You got what you needed. Game over. Time to head home. So I just get out of the park and I start heading back home, and I hear this sound. I hear the sound out in the woods. The woods, they were off to my left-hand side, and I'm like, I know that sound. I've never heard it before in person, but I know it. And I'm going to play it for you now. I didn't get a recording of it, but check this out. If it'll load. Of course, it's going to take forever.
Runs into this.
So I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds like people screaming. Play it again. Listen carefully. So it's the most eerie sound. We've heard it when we've been out shooting the Northern Lights. It sounds like almost like a teenager screaming in the forest. And I'm like, I know that sound. I think it was a lynx, right? So I'm driving, and I immediately pull over on the side of the road, and I'm like, listening. I got my head out the window, and I'm like, sure enough, that's a daggum lynx. So I get my gear, like car still running, throw it in park, put everything on, and I just start like sneaking back out into the woods listening for this scream. And I'm getting closer, and I don't know how much you know about lynx, but lynx aren't scared of nothing. Like, you can walk right up on a lynx, and if you don't startle it, if it knows you're coming, it really could care less that you're there. So I'm walking out there, and I sit down, and I hear him. I don't see him yet, but I hear him. And I'm sitting, and I'm sitting, and I'm sitting, and then all of a sudden, from my left to my right, I just see this lynx come over the hill, look at me dead in the eye, walk about 10 more feet, look me dead in the eye, and then he comes to about 10 feet of me, sits down, and he starts calling for a mate. So my heart's going a million miles an hour, right? Like, I'm trying to get this footage. Here, I'll throw the footage up, you'll laugh. I'm trying to get this footage of this lynx calling for a mate, and I'm shaking, and I'm freaking out. My heart's beating a million miles an hour, and I'm like, all right, dude, it's 11:30 at night. Stills are going to be tough because there's very, very, very little light in this dark spruce forest. So I click over to my images, and I just start racking off photos, right? And I'm like, those are incredibly underexposed. So my ISO goes all the way up to 4,000. I think my shutter speed was, hang on, I'll tell you right now. So I'm a ISO, I cap it really early. I am not a big fan of ISO, especially on the D850 because it's got such high megapixels. It falls on its face, anything, in my opinion, above about 800. So for me to do this, like, you could tell it was an image that I wasn't used to. So my settings were 4,000 ISO. Obviously, I was at 600 millimeter, f4, and then 1/320th of a second. So, you know, at 600 millimeters, you're bound to get some motion blur just from holding that dang lens handheld. You know, my heart's pumping, I'm freaking out, my ISO's cranked up, and I'm just racking off shots of this lynx, right? Because I've never seen one before. I've heard them, but I've never seen one, and it's been my bucket shot forever. So I'm cracking them off, and I'm cracking them off. And I'm doing the chimping thing. Oh, sorry, hang on. I'm doing the chimping thing where I'm like looking down, and I'm like, that's blurry, and I'm back up, and then, you know, I finally get my ISO and my shutter speed to where it's manageable. And I got these photos, and I'm going to play them for you right now. But when I tell you that this has been a bucket shot, like, since the day I pointed my camera at a wildlife, this shot has been in the back of my mind. They're just such elusive creatures. They're so powerful. Like, when you're in the presence of a lynx and they're staring right down through you, I don't even know how to explain it. But here, check out these images, and I hope you enjoy them as much as I do, because I've never got images like this before. So here we go, check them out. Alright, so sweet. I really hope you enjoyed those, because like I said, I was so incredibly stoked to get those images. That's not all I want to do today. I did want to share that story with you, though, because it made my whole, so far, it made my 2020. Like, that last night's encounter made my entire year. But what I do want to do is, I tried a new piece of software. And I am not a gimmicky software guy. I don't believe in a lot of the, you know, check out this sharpening, check out these denoise apps, all this other stuff. I'm really not that big of a fan. I think, you know, hey, if you want sharp, clean images, you do that in camera. You keep your ISO low, you do everything you need to with your fundamentals, and you take a sharp, clean image. But with these, in order to get sharp images, I had to, like I said, rack my ISO all the way up to 4,000. And I never go to 4,000, ever. Not even when I'm doing Aurora. So I knew that these images were going to be grainy, especially with the D850, because like I said, it falls on its face. But what I'm going to do is we're going to jump into the computer right now, and I'm going to show you guys this new piece of software. Obviously, I'm not sponsored by it. It's not It's not. I paid for it. Actually, right now I'm doing the free trial. But it's something that I think if you take a lot of low light photography or you do a lot of stuff where there's low light, I'm so incredibly impressed by this stuff or by this this software. The software is called Topaz Denoise AI. And I know how gimmicky that sounds, guys. It's like a $79.99 one-time buy, and you can use it forever. Topaz Denoise AI. But let me tell you, I'm gonna actually edit this image with you guys, and I'm gonna show you just how incredible it actually is. So we're jumping in the computer right now, and let's get after it. I'll try to do this pretty quick. The whole intent of this is not to necessarily show you how I would edit this, but it's more to show you about the Topaz Denoise. So I just want to make sure that I get the tufts, the links. You know, they're so iconic for having those tufts on their ears. So it's really important that, you know, however I crop it, I include the tufts. Bring up the shadows because, like I said, this thing is incredibly underexposed just because of the dark spruce forest I was in and the fact that I'm just trying to get the image exposed at all, knowing full well that when I bring it into post later, I'm going to have to do a whole bunch of bringing up the shadows, bringing down the highlights, bringing up the exposure, and so the intent of this right here is good enough for me. Now, obviously, I would do some vignettes and some radio filters, and I would take it into Photoshop and do that. That's not what I'm trying to show you guys. So I'm going to export this image, and I'm going to export it as a TIFF, right? So I want to export it as a TIFF because that's going to keep the max amount of information in the raw file for when I bring it over to use in Topaz Denoise AI. So you don't want to export it as a JPEG. You could export it as a RAW, of course, but since I'm working on Mac, I'm going to use a TIFF file because then it's interchangeable between... I could use it in any Adobe, I can use it in this Topaz thing, and then send it straight to Photoshop and have no loss of any information. So it's exporting now. Let's go ahead and minimize Windows. Window minimize. Come on. Definitely not zoom. Window minimize. And it's coming up right here. Go ahead and open up Topaz. Get rid of this bad boy. Now I'm going to have to skip through this because the program, it took 9 minutes to do a photo, which at first I was like, oh my goodness, 9 minutes for a photo. But when you see the final result of how good this program works, I was like, it changed the game. It really changed how I'm going to be doing photography now that I know that I can use ISO 4000 and still have a usable image. So right now, if you're looking at the screen recording, you can see the grain in the lynx's eye. Now there's still really good detail, like we didn't miss focus, but you can see that it's just going to be grainy, like a high ISO photo will be. You know, you'd have a hard time printing this large. So here I'm going to skip through this, let this generating preview thing do its stuff. All right, so we're back with you. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this image now that it's done its thing, and I'm going to open up both. I'm going to open up the TIFF before the AI, and I'm going to open up the AI after it does the denoise side by side on screen, and you guys are going to, if you're anything like I am, I was blown the heck away. So hopefully, once this is done and I can show you guys, you'll see what I'm talking about. So hang on, we'll get through this, and then I'll throw them up on the screen for you. Alright, so back with you. The Topaz Lab thing finally got done. So I'm opening up the denoise, and I'm opening up the TIFF file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on both of them, and I'm going to try to show you guys what I'm talking about. Just how crazy of a program this is. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Let's go somewhere. Let's go to the eye. Now, obviously, there's still a little bit of noise. You can see it through the fur and stuff. But then we're going to go into here, and we're going to look at this eye. So trying to do this thing 1-to-1. The background might actually be a little bit better. Try to step into the face a little bit. Without being at like some crazy 100%, it's kind of hard to tell. Let's come up to, let's do the background right here. So check this out. There's still all the same detail that you see in the fur that's in the original TIFF file. And then if you look at the background, check out this background. I can't even believe that it's this solid of a program. So like normally when you do the denoise, you'll lose all of the detail in the fur. So if you look at the black tuft, now obviously you can tell there's been denoise added, but look, you can still see the fine white details in the black tuft. You can still see each individual hair in the ear. Scroll down to, let's look at the whiskers, like something with a lot of detail. Scroll down here, slide it over. All right, check this out. Look at the nose. Look at the background. Background looks buttery smooth. I didn't lose any hard edges on the cheekbone. The eye is still just as detailed as it is in the TIFF file. All of the detail on the nose is still there and the hair right here. But overall, the image is... I would feel like this image was shot at, like, I don't know, 1600 ISO, other than, the 4000 that I actually shot it at. But that's what I really wanted to show you. I wanted to share the Lynx experience with you guys, and I wanted to show you guys this Topaz Denoise AI. Try the free trial, 30 days. If you love it like I love it, I'm going to buy this today because it just changed the way I can shoot. I can probably now get 30 more minutes of shooting in the morning and after the sun is already set that normally I would pack away because I don't like the high ISO files. But check it out. Get the free trial. Like I said, it's not sponsored or anything. It just, proof is in the pudding. It's an absolutely incredibly powerful program. So I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys really enjoyed that Lynx story as much as I did because it's been a bucket shot for me for a long time. But I'm going to try to get us back down to Denali where we could do some caribou stuff, maybe some grizzly stuff a little bit later on in the season. But I hope you guys are staying safe. Take care of each other, and I will see you in the next one as usual. Cheers.